Jones gives it to Corey Kiner. Charges straight up the middle and runs into the end zone, standing up, giving him 100 yards and giving the Bearcats a 16-7 lead. Newman has the ball, takes a pass toward the corner, does it again, passes to Bandego. Aziz outside the arc. Now Lukosius curls off a screen, shoots a three, makes it. He made it. 3 seconds to go. The Bearcats up by 1. San Francisco launches from center court. No good. Simas Lukosius.
His 5th plate appearance tonight. He swings and hits it high and deep to left field. Goodbye, home run. Carrington Cross. A 3-run shot. And it's now 7-3 Cincinnati.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Go Bearcats podcast, part of the Catskeller Social Club and the Bearcats representative to the College Huddle community. I'm Brandon. He's Darren. We have our beers locked and loaded. What's left of them from just a devastating weekend. Darren, how we doing here this evening?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I mean,
you were irrationally calm this weekend.
I mean, I had a whole drive back to my buddy's apartment to
sort of cool down.
Yeah, I slammed. I gave the bench behind me a good slam when they completed that last pass. You know,
I hear you.
But then I had some good pizza. You know, I'm happy to be back in Cincy. So I think that kind of is healing for the soul. You know, after moving. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So at least you got to breathe the fresh Cincinnati air as I don't know, the air was sucked out of Nippert Stadium this Saturday. Before we talked a little bit about it, before we get in there, like I was telling you before we jumped on here, I had one beer left in my beer fridge today. I don't know, is it because I drank them all Wednesday or last weekend because I needed them? I don't know. But this is from in the Indianapolis area. Big Lug Brewing. It is a coffee cake stout and a surprising, approachable 5.8%. So it's not going to knock my socks off here tonight on a school night here. I've had a couple of these before. I know it is pretty good. So that's what I'm sipping on here as we talk Bearcats Meltdown.
That sounds like a nice little breakfast beer there, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I forgot to grab some supplies on the way down. Before leaving Cincy. I think you're just kind of ready to go. We got a 4-hour drive ahead of you.
Yeah.
So I'm just drinking my leftover Cappy snacks that my buddy brought down when he visited a few weeks ago. I know the councilman, I had a chance to chat with him before the game, and he requested me to bring up some beers for him.
Yeah, you want to do some muling and trading? Definitely, I'll definitely get in on that as well. I know you can really get whatever you want when you're here, but I'd be interested in getting in on that as well for sure. I definitely love me some Southern Grist. There's some other ones down there. So you know what? It's when I go to a brewery or whatever, especially for the first time, I always let the bartender pick my flight. So I rarely come across one I hate or can't finish. So, yeah. This is my
absolutely, partner. I got you. I'll let this be known. This is my first ever actual pour on the show. I don't think I've ever poured. I just happen to have a glass ready to go. Yeah. If it looks kind of gross, just know that they leave chunks in their beers.
Yeah, it's unfiltered. Yeah, it's all right. Nothing wrong with that. We switched roles tonight because I didn't bring down a glass, so I'm straight from the can with a stout, and you got the Cappy snacks in a pint glass. I love it. We talked in the Last Call Cats, which if you're listening, you should join us this week and listen and chime in. We'd love to hear from you. But you and I broke down, or literally mentally broke down, our thoughts about the 22-point meltdown is what has been my buzzword here in the past 2 minutes. We just shit our pants. I don't know what sort of metaphor you want to use to describe the game, but Bearcats lost 28-27 to Pitt. Briefly, if we want to rehash it, Darren, what what are some things that you think went wrong or we could have done better? Before you say something though, you said you didn't catch the press conference, and you're usually the guy that gets that in, but I did watch it today as I was giving the baby a bottle, which Satterfield put him right to sleep. So parents out there's a trick for you. Turn on the press conference. They discussed Sorsby tweaking his ankle late in the second half or late in the second quarter, I believe, where a Pitt player at the end of the play tried to twist his ankle as it was on a run, and Satterfield said he didn't think it. He said he definitely tweaked it because of it, but he didn't think it affected his game that much. That's something we don't really know in real time, but maybe that played a little bit of a factor. I don't know. You would think some sort, but sort of knowing that piece of information, Darren, what the hell else went wrong?
Well, yeah, so they said it wasn't like a full factor. They said it bothered them a little bit, though. So I mean, that's some kind of factor. It may not be the factor,
yeah.
And why he went cold. Part of that was the play calling. we got a little cute in our last few drives in the fourth quarter. I mentioned this before, and this obviously is sort of outside the game, but the student section going, eat shit Pitt, 5 minutes left in the third quarter, whole half to play after that. They haven't really put a dent in anything yet, but they seem like they were figuring some stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I told you, I am not a big shit talker in the moment. I let the results hold and do the talking there. More on that later, and people live tweeting the game. But we just from probably midway through that third quarter on, we were just out of the game. Nothing was, it wasn't like everything. It wasn't like our normal gas where it's like, oh, we fumbled the ball here, or a scoop and score, throw an interception, but just kind of sleepwalked, through that second half. Like, oh, we'll go get them next time. And that was just kind of the vibe I got, at least. But overall, there was just a lot of small failures that added up. No adjustments made. Let's go with what's working. Corey Tyler gets like a handful of carries late in the game. You go on from there. Yeah.
Let's take a microscope to some of the, you said small failures.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's look at the last 5 possessions for the Bearcats against Pittsburgh this past week.
Mm-hmm.
And from the very end of the game, no, we'll just go in order here. Field goal, punt, fumble.
Yeah.
When you had to respond to a 22-point run, what was this? This was when was that field goal? Late in the third? Yeah. With about 5 minutes left in the third.
Yeah.
From the 9-yard line, you were at the Pitt 9. With that field goal, punt, fumble, it seems like a lot of, I'm not going to say empty, but empty red zone appearances when you are kicking for 3. One of which we missed the field goal. I mean, you're talking about way back in the set at the end of the second quarter before halftime, but there's the game. Maybe you hit that field goal. Maybe Pitt has to just kick the PAT, those last 2 touchdowns, and something goes a little differently. But to end the game with those 5 types of possessions is brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll put it this way: also that just to back it up real quick, that field goal at the end of the quarter too, where we kind of messed up and let them, get a second off. But that's been talked about to death. 6 points shouldn't make that big of a deal, but still kind of definitely makes it. It gives them some kind of life.
That was.
But I'd say from really the second quarter on, well, no, because we scored a touchdown again.
Yeah, we
But that-
scored. Well, our last touchdown was about 7.5 minutes
Yeah.
left in the third. So about halfway
There's-
through, a little more than
there's
halfway
some
through
moments
the
I
third.
can point to though. The missed field goal, settling for a field goal in the second quarter.
Yeah.
You know, because at that point it felt like, 20 points at some point would have been nice, but like it felt like we were this close to kind of just putting it out of reach, no matter what happened. And I'm not even talking about the 3 points. The 3 points would have been nice because that was the difference. But you get that touchdown, at the end of that drive that resulted in a field goal. Our last scored points looks a lot better.
Yeah.
That's ultimately missing. I wouldn't get too mad at the second quarter field goal, but like the missed field goal and settling for a field goal at the end of the game, or at least on our last score, that's an extra. That's a whole other, actually, just extra touchdown at that point total that you're missing. So that's extra 7 points you don't have that you should have had. And you're seeing various things during the game. Obviously, people who were trying to watch on TV, the chats, the discords. Some people are saying it's the holding. Some people are saying that, now maybe more it's the long snapping, the whole process. We don't know. I'm sure it'll rear its ugly head again, unfortunately. That needs to get cleaned up. But it's what just keeps ringing out to me. I keep looking at it over and over and thinking back to it. It's just that we just struggled to get that last push to put it away.
Yeah, and I mean, as we've really been focused on harping on the offense.
Yeah.
But I mean, the defense could definitely get better at tackling.
Yep.
Especially when you have the quarterback dead to rights and he can get away, make a play.
Mhm.
He didn't always look like Patrick Mahomes out there, but when you think you had him, man, he slipped out of it. I don't want to say there was at least two. We had one interception, and we should have had two more where it hit us in the hands.
Yep.
And I think one of them could have been a pick six, probably.
Yeah.
And it's just a game of inches, and it's just not getting the inches that we need.
Yep.
To win these close games. So we know we had plenty of close games last year, and we were not able to get over that hump.
I mean, you get some of those inches early, it's not even a close game. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. You hit 30 or 34 by the end of the middle of the third quarter, like you're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
That's a way harder uphill battle. Maybe obviously they still pull in within close and something wonky still happens. They still somehow pull out a win, but man, I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, even like you mentioned, obviously the drops for those interceptions, those are big, huge moments, or at least flashy moments. But letting Desmond Reed go off in the back half and them figuring it out, how to get the passing game going. Just, I mean, our linemen were getting blown without. Dante Corleone was a bigger factor than I expected him to be, which is good in some ways. I'm glad that he was a factor. But without him, man, we were getting blown off the ball completely. And it seems like they, like I said, a 3-3-5 is designed to really kind of take away some of those just big passing plays. But man, it felt like we did not. I mentioned this before. Everybody needs to play their gap assignment in order for that run defense to work from that standpoint. And it just feels like we were scared to use our linebackers and put them in the positions to help out on the line.
I mean, you in the Big 12, you have to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's this conference is too good, has too many good running backs to not do that.
I mean, good running backs and quarterbacks. So, I mean, you are kind of damn if you do, damn if you don't. But, you got to be a little bit better in that portion of the game for sure. And even within the passing game, they realized once they could get some guys a lot of movement on their routes and guys switching sides of the field and switching the field and stuff, we looked like we couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
A lot of things going across the face of some guys. I mean, I said before when I saw, because they had been doing it all game, like at least the whole back half of the game. It not that a high safety fixes this, but it at least maybe helps take away something deep and they can help out over top. But as soon as I saw on that last play, we had everybody not necessarily walked up, but within that 10-yard box of the line, and everyone parallel in the back. I'm like, they're gonna if someone gets free, it's over. And sure enough, he saw a guy streaking off by himself. I'm like, there it is. And his line was giving him time. I'm like, there's no way he's not gonna see this.
That's funny that not that we're necessarily ready to transition full on to Miami, but what you just said reminded me exactly of the Miami game last year where they're going to try to stretch the field, throw it down there, and beat the DBs. And I think that's what they did first play of the game last year, right? We'll talk about that here in a second. I think last week when we did the show, I gave you like an interesting stat, like the stat that I thought was most interesting. And not that I'm gonna do this every week, but I have one more here for you for this game, Darren. This one's time of possession. Pitt, 23 minutes, 35 seconds. Cincinnati, 36 minutes, 25 seconds.
Yep.
That's pretty significant in terms of we dominated the ball. I don't have like a half breakdown, but I would bet that's front loaded to the first half.
Yeah.
I might be way off on that, but it felt like Pitt dominated the ball the second half when they were scoring at will almost, driving.
Kind of. I mean, there was 10 minutes or 5 minutes, even in the fourth quarter. I mean, we were taking like 5 minutes on our drives in between them scoring, combined obviously between. But there's like 6 minutes between scores for them. And there's some at the end. There was a bit of some clock management mismatches on our part. Obviously. You can't let the enemy of perfect, the enemy of good be perfect, but that delay game penalty, definitely wishy-washy call. I still say you can't, when the game's tight like that, you cannot not put yourself in any situation, leave no doubt. But also that ref had, I won't say had out for us, but that was a suspect call at a suspect time. And then, of course, Dante getting Corey Long getting blasted in the face and nothing. That guy's helmet, his helmet doesn't just pop off. Like
no, no, that was interesting. Ref didn't see anything happen there, type of thing. Yeah, that was interesting.
It's interesting to point. I mean, obviously, it's easy to point out those penalties. We did lose the penalty battle 6-5 by a whole nother 9 yards.
That was one of your keys to the game. Got to be clean.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, they didn't play clean themselves, but still inches mistakes everywhere. And then I've said this before, but my coaches have a saying, you sent that guy to college. I mean, you just sent that guy to pros. You made Holstein look like he was, had been doing it like his whole life. Like he came out the womb slinging bombs, in the back half. I mean, which is weird because like, we still weren't generating that much pressure during the game, even when we were up. Because even he was just throwing bad passes. He was forced out of the pocket, but he still had time back there, even when he's forced out of the pocket. That's
another thing Satterfield said in the press conference. They brought, he said by his estimates, they brought double or triple the amount of pressure this week as compared to Towson.
Yeah.
So.
And eventually, I mean, they wised up and he started taking what we were giving them. Again, a lot of short crosses and shallow crosses to kind of get them warmed up and going, and then just our DNs getting blown off the ball and breaking contain. It's just, I mean, ripping off chumps and getting the second level every time just can't consistently happen. It will. I mean, it just feels like it will, but you gotta stop that bleeding.
Let's talk a little bit about Miami. We got press conference at the press conference today. Satterfield's talking about how they've pretty much had this game circled all year long in spring workouts, over the summer, at camp. Apparently, this has been a point of emphasis game for them. it kind of be interesting to see how they respond after an emotional heartbreaker last week. Vegas likes us right now. Opened up at 2.5-point favorites right now, at 3.5. So we got that going for us with the over under at 46.5 points. Last week, Darren, you and I, we did our struggle for points. I don't know what we're calling this. You and I were very overzealous on the points for the Pitt Bearcats game. Darren, you had a 41-35 guess, and I had a 38-35 guess. We're both over there, but I am the ones. I am closer. So our score prediction game is 1-1. Gabbard is back for the 20th year of his collegiate career. Really, this is his 6th year, but he's been playing. I mean, my God, he's played college football for double the amount of time that the Confederacy Army was a thing. So that's a pretty wild stat right there. Literally twice as long. What do we think about Miami this year? So what are they? 0-1. They got who they get? They got beat up pretty badly, didn't they, on week 1?
No, not really.
But they had last week off to prepare for this game. So, what's your thoughts on them right now?
Their defense is really still really solid. I'd say Northwestern. It was about their game against Northwestern was just kind of a battle of two defenses.
That's right. It was a low scoring game actually. Now that I think about it, it was like 14-6 or something. I think.
Yeah, a low scoring game.
13-6. 13-6. Yep.
Now their quarterback looked amazing. I mean, Brett Gabbert still put up some okay numbers. I mean, he was still getting chunking out 6.1 a throw. So I mean, his QBR was super low, but he was. I mean, when he was making the throws, he was still averaging a good amount of yardage on that. They did make him uncomfortable. He got sacked 4 times, threw 2 interceptions. They hurried. Okay. I missed the amount of hurries they had on him. That's going to be key for us, I think, is making him uncomfortable in the pocket. And if he tries to escape, having a spy on him.
I mean, he torched us last year, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't even say torch. He just took the gaps, and they would spread us out, and the space would vacate, and he would take what we left him. He's a smart enough QB at this point, just experience-wise. I'm sure he's going to want to go out like a G, last Victory Bell game, his senior year. I'm sure he's going to want to try to cement his legacy on this. Chuck has been there forever. I mean, he's a pretty average coach. I hate that they made us have to respect them on this. A few years ago, I would have been like, nah, Chuck's why is he still there? They got what they wanted in the boards. We saw the boards last year. We're like, oh, please let's just win one to make this a rivalry. And sure enough, good for them. They brought some respect back to their name, and we are talking about them.
Gabbert he had 237 yards last year, passing and 75 rushing. So that's pretty solid for a guy his size, I think, on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, he got he got sacked 4 times, and his long was 4, so he only rushed once. The game last week. The scary thing is we don't have tape on them outside of this. We didn't see how they looked last week, so
that's true.
They haven't shown too much. Whereas we established some patterns at this point. I mean, the game plan remains the same. The good thing is they lost some key weapons last year from last year. Their running back's gone to Ole Miss. I mean, all their best pieces went to the SEC. So, that doesn't mean he can't develop these guys. Because, I mean, clearly he is, and they're getting plucked off and going somewhere else. So, it's going to probably be a low-scoring game, too. I have to imagine.
46.5. That's not a ton of points.
No.
All right, what's that, about 23 apiece if it's a close game. I mean, they got the home field advantage. I know. So, I mean, there should be plenty of Bearcats fans out there. I know that Den and some other groups of people are going out. It looks like, according to Trames tweets.
Mhm.
So hopefully we can sort of take over the home field advantage there. I am very nervous about this game, Darren, especially after last week. I don't expect to run away from it. I think, again, we should win, but I'm pretty nervous. And if we lose this game, somebody check on me. So, because holy hell, losing this 2 years in a row. I mean, and I wrote about this when it was announced, but like this game matters now for the legacy of the series and to keep the victory bell. Like what we have 2 of these games left, and it's tied across the board, 59-7 or something like that. Just off the top of my head there, it might be 60-67. I don't know exactly, but it's in that neighborhood. So you got 2 games. You can take it outright. You can take the series outright, or if we lose this week, best you can hope for is a tie, which would suck with the way that we've played against this in the series the last 17 years, or whatever. So, I'm not crosstown shootout nervous, but it's kind of approaching that right now.
Well, keep this in mind. We have no trophies in our trophy case right now, as far as I know.
Oh, that's brutal. God, that's depressing.
We think about that.
I just went down the list real quick, and you're right.
We had the opportunity to get the keg and nails back. Obviously, that was a weird situation regardless. Louisville just had better players in their reserves than we did. Coach leaves, extra motivation. We're picked apart as far as like people staying to play. Coach is gone, so just a bit of a weird situation there. Pittsburgh, we retained it last year, and then make no mistake, they hate us. Those players hated us. I mean, you got Fletcher having to go take a ball back that they try to steal.
That was a little
shoving a guy, jawing and like I mean they were jawing even when they were down. Like I mean it's and then you got us like sitting there on the video board playing his interview and stuff, and just again that goes
how he said it wasn't going to be that loud.
That goes back to my shit talking. Set yourself up for failure. But hey, also own your takes, I guess. And then Miami won last year on our field, and we don't get a chance to return the favor. Well, I guess you do. You can win on their field, but we don't get a chance to have it at home anytime soon. So it's tough. Like I said, their defense is still really good. So if they make us stall out a few times, they just and they keep it close. And even if we go up, we for whatever reason, we need to make sure we play like we want to win the game, and not to retain the game.
That's a good point. Speaking of defense, I think it'll be interesting. Last year, I think you had to have an answer for Xavier Henderson, and that's pretty much it. Now you have to have an answer for him and Joe Royer, and that kind of gives us an advantage there because Kiner can steamroll whatever DB or linebacker whenever, pretty much at will. So I do like. I mean, I think Royer's been the best addition to the team so far.
He's freed up Xavier at that point. Xavier.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that being said, there's some other wide receivers trying to make an emergence here. And obviously we kind of gadget. We have a lot of gadget guys that we pick from.
Yeah.
I think we're still trying to find that number 2, I guess 3 at this point. I guess it'd be Sterling, at least based on stats, but honestly, probably Mays is my better pick for that, I think. You have anything else on Miami before we go into our predictions for this week? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a rock fight. Basically,
Mick Cronin Big East rock fight.
I do think Brendan Shrewsbury is I won't say the truth, but quite the improvement. I expect Yager Stadium to be alive and well because it's their first home game. They have the trophy, so I expect them to be rowdier than years past. Yeah, we just gotta be smart, coaching players, know what's going on, have our seniors happy because otherwise, you don't want to lose the locker room for real again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, some guys were just visibly. I mean, yeah, you're upset at losing, but like just you could feel like just the anger radiating from some of those guys when they were walking off the field. Fletch, I mean, Dante's always positive, but you know, I mean, it means something to these guys, and as a unit and team, they have to pay. They owe it to those guys, not the fans. They owe it to those guys. You know, so play hard, play smart, be disciplined, make Gabbert uncomfortable. I'm not too worried about their run game. Their run game is trying to look okay against our defense, but they
don't have a read like Pitt does.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it was Rashid Amos. He transferred to Ole Miss. So, I mean, their next best back is the guy who was their next best back last year. I don't think is even starting. I think Jordan Bruson got a majority of the carries last week or 2 weeks ago. Didn't look incredibly tough. But again, one game, first game jitters, get not a lot of tape on them versus, 2 games. So yeah.
Well, you want me to go first or you want to go first? What's your official prediction? It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, but I'll let you go.
I'll go. All right. So I think this will be a very close game. Like I said, I do expect the Bearcats to win this game. Yeah. I'm thinking 27-24 Cats.
I was going to say probably 27-14 Cats.
Okay.
Maybe 17, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we win by 10.
17.
Yeah.
27. I like that.
Yeah.
Hell, I'll take any of them.
Yeah. As long as it comes out of the W column, right?
Yeah. I like it. All right. God, I hope we win this game.
They got sweat. They told us they made us how to respect them. So
yeah, 100%. I think my nervousness will only grow as we get closer to Saturday. Want to win this one bad. First time I've ever been nervous or excited for this game, and maybe since I was an undergrad. So let's do it, Bearcats. Let's take this series and this trophy. Let's put a trophy back in the case. For the love of God. That was a good point, Darren. And I have nothing else, sir. I'll leave you with this. Cheers and go Bearcats.
Cheers, go Bearcats.